Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lili Nishmas Imi Merasi Rismas Mordechai. So, one of the final days here in Chicago, tomorrow, Bezer Hashem, New York, Brooklyn, New York, MUT. Guys, how many people signed up over there? It's unbelievable. 450 people. Signed up. And we can't, it's not enough. 450 is not enough. We need 1,000. We need 1,000 minimum. Rabbi said, here's a guy caught in Lakewood in one of the bakeries there. And here's Rabbi Pesach Waxman learning the daf with his grandson in Lakewood, New Jersey. Rabbi said, if you're wondering what Rafal the barber does when he's not giving haircuts, here somebody caught him through the glass in a pizza shop, holding 2 gemaras in his hand, trying to convince somebody to join the daf. I'm sure the guy's already, whatever. Yehuda Noble, daf on the plane. Nothing better than daf on the plane. And here you have Rabbi Vanderveld, who signed up 3 people in his restaurant. 3 people. Close to deal, I believe he is. And here we have an email from Mr. Anonymous. Baruch Hashem, we've heard about all the many people who did not miss a single daf this month, even with all the preparations and Yom Tov itself. It's a great accomplishment and call kavod to all of them. But I think it's equally important to mention those like myself who did miss some days. Of course. So we talk about it all the time, especially right after Pesach. We know that many people fell off the bandwagon and many people are missing dafim. It's normal. It's all part of Daf Yomi. The question is, what do you do when you fall behind? And that's the trick. That's why we have a very high success rate because of this one trick. Listen to this. I live in the New York area. I know what you love it when you're anonymous, so we won't even mention the borough. He lives in a borough, though. He doesn't live in the 5 towns. He lives in a borough. Okay, that's good enough. And I had thought that having the shiur at a normal time would be great. Stays up till 1 a.m. to listen to the shiur live. So he figured when I'm in Eretz Yisrael, he stays up to 1:30 a.m., 2:30 a.m. So I'm in the States, it would be a breeze. But it wasn't. Shopping and cleaning and the whole thing, preparation for Yom Tov, helping the wife. The daf schedule just never worked out for me. And the reason I stay up so late usually is because I just can't push myself to learn from the recordings. I find something to learn the shiur is live, but if I miss it, it's hard for me, the hechrich to learn when the shiur is live. If I miss it, it's hard for me to make it up. So here's where the important part comes in. I'm still holding with the daf. I skipped what I missed, and I've continued from where we are currently holding. That's the trick. Whatever daf, you missed all these dafim, start today, Daf Amud Beis, pretend nothing happened. Be'ez Hashem, I hope to make up the lost dafim, though I can't make up for the lost days. That, yeah, movis lo yuchal liskoin, fine. But the daf, it's not worth dropping the daf because you missed a bunch of dafim. But using your solid advice, I did not throw in the towel. Sheva yipol tzadik v'kam, a tzadik falls 7 times. Baruch Hashem, you have a lot of followers that didn't fall, but you should know, rebelli, you have many followers who did, but have gotten back up because I believe almost every single person probably missed a daf or 2. There's no such thing. It's almost impossible. Thank you, and Tiskal Mitzvahs. May continue to chazik and melamed Klal Yisrael biz ad biz gov meher v'meinu amen. Yishkoyach. Today, this month's Koilel sponsors anonymous Lzchus shviduchim for his nieces. Parnasah by the Lock and Lebovic families might be their last day of this 30-day sponsorship. Lakewood, New Jersey, because Torah is the best segulah. Chodesh Nisan is sponsored by Eli. Lzchus Rochama Puromã Bas Dov. Lzchus Dov Pנחס ben Moshe Yakov. Lzchus Yחיאל Shragã ben Avraham Levi Shalom. Boy saying again, if you're in the New York area, New Jersey, come tomorrow night. Just be mechazik each other. You know what it means to see 500-600 guys from the same shiur? Something similar to what we had in Ramat Shemesh. Everybody knows each other. It's going to be a matziv, singing, dancing. It's going to be gevaldik. So even if you're a very shy person or you live very far and you have a lot of excuses, come anyway. All sponsored. The whole the refreshments. I don't know what there is. Nothing major. Not like Chinese or anything, but refreshments sponsored by Murad Nakash. And everything else by Murad Nakash, all the audio visual and everything, so Yishkoyach Murad. Ahron Fraiman, Lzchus, parnasah, and siyata, dishmaya, and continue Hatzlacha to rebelli. Parnasah chodesh is Zechus to Ahron's Hatzlacha, and to you, the magid shiur and the video editor. Hatzlacha and continuation. Not missing a shiur. Lzchus, Avraham Yitzchak ben B'Yamin. Today's shiur sponsor Eli Lishmas. Nisan Yitzchak ben Shlomo Zalman. Shlomo should have an aliyah. Sponsored. What? Today's the yard site. Stop. Okay. Got it. Anonymously, Lzchus Chayav As Yosef. This morning I got pulled over. Picture right in front of the shul. Got pulled over by a cop in a Range Rover autobiography. You know what I'm driving now? What year is that car that you gave me? 2006 Honda Civic. Or what's going on here? CRV. It's unbelievable. The lights are yellow. The whole thing is unbelievable. Stick shift over here. In the morning. No, I was talking about your car. That's what I was talking about. All right. 206 and autobiography. That's Chicago. Yes, anonymously. And the Bercovici, how do you pronounce it? I hope that's the family. Lzchus, for Rivka Bas Reza or Rezel, Rivka Bas Reza, Rezel. Rabbi Isai, here we go. If this is your first year, and we got to prepare for tomorrow, there might be some people that never learned Yevamos in their life. There's a lot of concepts that if you didn't learn Yevamos, it might be difficult. So we'll try to go through them very, very briefly. Well, everybody knows what a get is. And the Mishnah stated that if the Yavam, let's say 2 Yevamos falter to him, the brother dies without children and had 2 wives. And one Yavam gave this Yavam a get and then gave another Yavam a get. Or one Yavama and 2 Yavamim gave a get and a get. So it might be kedai just to see the lashon of the Mishnah. Let's see if we could see it. It's a very long Mishnah, Daf Nun. And it starts off, and then it says, 3 lines down, yesh get acher get. So the second person who gives a get didn't accomplish anything according to Gamliel. In other words, you don't become usher to that woman's relatives or you yourself. Yeah. Now, Chacham say there is a get after get, and there's a maimer after a maimer, and then 6 lines down it says Ketzad. Also, maimer b'vimta and also like get. So, Yishkoyach Andrew, very much appreciated. Gamliel says, we start off the Mishnah. There's no get after a get. Chacham say there is a get after a get. What should be the next thing? Ketzad. What happened? How do you have a get and then a get? No, that's not what the Gemara says. That's not what the Mishnah says. Ketzad, maimer, and then a get. It's a little interesting, says the Gemara. I don't understand the lashon. Ketzad also maimer, says the Gemara. Hi get acher getu. Is that what we're looking for? That's not really what we're looking for. Omar Rav Yehuda, this is what the Mishnah meant. Get acher get. You're right. It starts with a get and then another get. Maimer acher maimer. Great. Kidam Maran. What's very interesting is the Mishnah is not going to talk about it. The Mishnah is not going to describe it. That we did yesterday in a brisa. Kidam Maran in the brisa. Then Yavam Echad V'Yavam Achas Ketzad. Now we're going to another case. There was one Yavam and he had one Yavama. So obviously he's not going to give her 2 gitin because that's completely ludicrous. So what he did was Ketzad Hatarasan. How do you get out of this? Asa Maimar. First, he did a Maimar. Now, what is a Maimar if you're brand new? Maimar is the concept of Kiddushin. Giving a woman money for Kiddushin, a ring. Just if you do it to a Yevama, it's called, you don't like it? I just don't like the angle. It's a little bit I like straight dead on, you know? Asa Maimar Vivimta Ben Asa Loget, Tzricha Himenu Chalitza. The way you get out of that is by giving a chalitza, she removes the shoe, she spits, the whole process. But first there was a maimer, then there's a get. The get is not strong enough to get rid of the zika, the bond that there is between a yavama and a yavam. For that you need chalitza. The get is strong enough to get rid of the maimer, which is like kiddushin. So like in a typical couple, there's kesef kiddushin, there's a ring, you want to get divorced, you give a get. But there's still a bond between them Midaraisa, there's a bond called Zika, Yibum. So what do? You give chalitza. Next. Asa maimer ubal harezikum mitzvasa. The Mishnah says if he gave her money and then he was miyabim her, then it's perfect. That's the mitzvah in the Torah. It's not really what the Torah says. The Torah says just yibum, straight, direct. Okay. Harezikum mitzvasa. Says the Gemara, Ravuna, is this a raya to Ravuna? Damar Ravuna mitzvah yivama mekadish v'achakach boil. Ravuna is of the opinion that maybe this guy. Hold on, let me just direct traffic here. Okay, great. Ravuna is of the opinion, don't do what the Torah says. Do a little bit more. Give her kesef kiddushin, give her a ring, be a little bit more menschlach, more, what's the word? Civil, it might be a better word. Okay, like we do today in our society. Then you're miyab. Says the Gemara, no, it's not a good ride from our Mishnah. It's another way of doing it. If you give maimer and then you do yibum, it's also the mitzvah. In other words, this is the real mitzvah, it's direct yibum, without any money involved. You want to give money, you're also making the mitzvah. Says the Gemara, pshita, like, well, what did he do? He didn't ruin anything. No, it's a big chiddush. If a person gives money to zivama, so the zika, the bond, flies away, it dissipates. Now he's more like a regular husband and wife. There's erusin, there's sort of like an engagement, but not really, and nisuin, and then there's kiddushin. So, since you got rid of the yibum mitzvah, maybe you got rid of it completely, and all your mekayim now is just a regular marriage, but you're not being mekayim the mitzvah to give your brother a memory. The bottom line is, and I mentioned this a number of times, today the halacha is that you should, if you are going to do yibum, first of all, we don't do yibum, but in societies that you do, there are some Sfaradim that do yibum, it's better to do it with kiddushin like Ravuna. Okay. Gufa. Omer Ravuna. Interesting sugis today, by the way. Yeah. Well,
but there's 3 ways to get married,
right? Right. And we're actually going to talk about all of them today. Exactly what words he says and how he says it, all different things, because he might mess it up by. But it's a good point what you're saying. He might be messing. No, it is. That's kesef. Maimer and kesef are equal. Just today, we're not talking about a regular marriage between a husband and wife. We're talking about marrying your sister-in-law, which usually is forbidden to you, but because she fell to you, the brother died without any children, then you're allowed to marry the sister-in-law, and instead of bimiyabim her, just taking her home, he decided to perform kiddushin because he thought that's what he's supposed to do. Does it work? How does it work? That's what we're discussing. That's the sugya part. Yeah. It's just a fancy way to say kiddushin. And it's to differentiate between kiddushin, money that you give to a wife, and money that you give to Yevamos. It's the same thing. It's just called, but it's not in the Torah. Torah says to do yibum. Gufa, Amar Ravuna, mitzvah Yevamim mekadesh v'achkach boil. So we just mentioned Ravuna that the way to do it when your sister-in-law falls to you is first you give her money and then you take her home. You're miyab. V'imbav also maimer. But if he first was miyabim and then he gave her kesef kiddushin, kana. Well, imbav also maimer pshita. What do you mean? She's already his wife 100%. So he gave her a ring, so it's just a gift. What does it have to do with anything? He's already kainer. That's one of the 3 ways to be kainer. Well, the only way really to be kainer midaraisa yevama. Elaima imba b'lei maimer. So what you have to say doesn't mean you misunderstood. We said if there was yibum, it just flows. Ravuna says you should do yibum. You should first do maimer, then yibum. What if he jumped and did yibum? What does Ravuna hold? Kana. That's what he meant to say. Vatanya loika. But it says that if you do what the Torah says, it's very interesting. If you do what the Torah says, you get malchus. Now, how do you get malchus? Malchus is a deraisa. It's a concept in the Torah that if somebody is over Michal Shabbos, whatever, you get malchus. So the fact that he's getting malchus, tells me that midoraisa you have to do kiddushin, and because he didn't do kiddushin, he didn't do maimer, he gets malchus. No, we're not talking about that kind of malchus. Malchus mardis midorabanan. There's a derabanan type of malchus. It's not 39 lashes. It's whatever they decide. It's midorabanan to make sure people are doing the derabanans. And now the Gemara goes in. Very interesting stuff. The Rav menagid is the lashon of malchus. Rav would give malchus manda mekadosh bebiyah. Yes, the Mishnah Kiddushin says that one of the three ways to be kind of a woman is bebiyah. But don't go ahead and do it. And if you do it, you should know that the Rabbanan are not happy with you. It's pritzus. It's not a way a Jew should act. And you get malchus. Uman de mekadesh b'shuka. If a person goes over to a woman at a bus stop, gives her $100, gives her a ring. It's also not proper. You get married in a hall, you get married like a mansion, a shul, not in the middle of the street, not in the middle of the marketplace. Uman de mekadesh. Anyway, Chacham were very makbid on how we act, and we shouldn't act like behemoths. Uman mekadosh b'lo shiduchi. Without shiduchi is really what we call an engagement. They call it shiduchim. The Gemara calls it shiduchim. Then calls erusim, which is not engagement, is really what we call kiddushin already. It's like what? Yeah, probably even more than that. You have to get a divorce after that. You can't just say, "Oh, it's erusim." But not what we did today, Erusin. Yeah, Erusin. Uman de mevatel gita. So if somebody cancels a get, meaning a person sends a get with a messenger, and when it's on the way or whatever, he calls up the messenger, don't give it. That could lead to a lot of issues. The messenger could say, I didn't get the message. He could just fight him on, divorce her anyway. It could lead to terrible things, mamzerim, etc. So whoever cancels a get when it's en route, once he gave it already to the shliach, he used to give him malchus. Now, a person could always be meiser medah. Let's say he could say, I'm forgiving you a loan. Let's say you owe me a lot of money. I'll say, look, you owe me $1 million. Just give me $500,000 and I'm mevatel the rest. But he could go to 2 and say, listen, I'm going to tell him I'm mevatel, but there's no way in the world I'm giving in. I'm meichel him with $500,000. That's meiser medah. What about a get? The Bezdin comes, like these famous people in New York that are sitting now in jail. Their job is to get people that deny Gitim, Agunas. That's their job. We have it in Chicago. One of the famous Rabbanim here had a few stories. So a guy, they beat him up. They're beating him up, and he says, he turns to two of them. I'm going to give a get. But you should know I don't mean to give it. I just don't want them to beat me up. So he's moist, and it doesn't really work. It doesn't work at all. However, if you even say it, you might be putting a coil. So there'll be rumors about this get, and therefore you gave malchus. It's not fun, this malchus. People could die from it. It's very, very, very painful. Uman the poker shlichu de rabbanon. So here Rashi uses a very easy lashon. It's somebody who's very chutzpahdik to the shliach of the bezdin. I actually have a picture here. I'll show the oilam. Oh, did I already pass this? What happened?
I posted on the MDY Chicago WhatsApp all the pictures
so
people could see.
Great. So there's no surprise. Yishkayach, you ruined my surprise. Here we have. Here, I'll show you guys. It's don't shoot the messenger. So I just used one of the Baldwin brothers who doesn't represent anybody. Done. Don't shoot the messenger. The guy comes. He's a shliach of Bezin, and in another Masechta, the Rashi says he gave him a smack in the face. The kid is very chutzpahdik to him, embarrasses him. So don't embarrass the shliach of Chachamim. Gets malchus. If somebody's put in cherim, he did something bad, he needs to go straighten it out. He needs to go to court and figure out what's wrong and how to get it off. He fights. He's like, they're going to threaten me. They're going to put me in cherim. Who are they? And he doesn't go anywhere. You don't go for 30 days. And he doesn't appeal the cherim they put him in. He should talk it over with them. He gets malchus. If a son-in-law lives by his in-laws. Oy vey is right. So what do we do? What do we do, Rabbi Sai? First of all, you did, I did, but I have to tell you from experience, you don't need malchus. I think you're a meshuggah if you live by your mother-in-law's house. You need something else. But says the Gemara, the Dar in, what only a person that lives there, what if you walk by her house, you should get malchus. There was a guy that just walked by his mother-in-law's house. I'm learning this Gemara. I live across the street from my shver. So every time I go into my house, I get malchus, just coming in and out. All right. I don't live across the street from my shver. I have a house that's across the street from my shver because I'm only there 3 weeks a year. When I lived in Lakewood, I purposely lived 4 blocks away. Yeah. V'nagdir Rav Sheishes. But it happens to be, Dr. Dauer will testify, because his son lives right next door to my shver, and Dr. Dauer's son is my shver's Edim-in-law. No, his son married my shver's granddaughter. So you have my shver's granddaughter lives next door, then her father lives next door to her, so she's sandwiched, and her grandfather lives directly across the street, and her uncle lives directly behind them. Am I exaggerating? And you live down the block. Yoni's brother lives across? And you, Rabbi Meiselman, lives across the street too. How are you related? Not related. You just provide the cars. Okay. V'nagdi Rav Sheishes. It's a little much for me. Anyway, so he got malchus just for going by the house over there. Says the Gemara, how made them have a dayim mechamasei? What happened was that there was a chashad between the mother and the Gemara always says that the mother-in-law likes the son-in-law. So there was a chashad there was rumors that something's going on, something fishy is going on between the two. So you have no business encouraging those rumors. Don't walk by that house. And this is the saving here. There's no malchus. If you do 2 things wrong in one action, you didn't get engaged to this girl, you weren't going out with this girl, you just mekadesh her, and how you mekadesh her bebia, then you get malchus. Now it's kedai to see Taisus over here, because this saves us. The mekadesh bebia, says Rabbi Tam, that filu biyavama the tzarech bia. No, that's not the one I want to say. The next one. Hadar bebeis chamev. Next Taisus. Anan zamchin an ardai. So we rely on ardai. That's why you Yankee, you're able to be by your in-laws' house for I don't know how long. How long was it? Nebuch. The Amri, Bekulu loy menagid Rav, Ella, I lived in my shver's house. My shver didn't know I was there. Like the famous mice I told you that the people come in and out. A guy, guy asked my shver, he's there for like a week. He goes, what yeshiva are you collecting for? So my shver says, I've been here for a while. I was like, oh, whatever it is. The guy didn't know that my shver owns the house. Everybody has the code. They come in, they grab a room and go weiter. Not you guys that are watching. Don't start calling up now. Okay. Next. So it says Taisves, Baruch Hashem, we have Nardoi. The Amri. There's no malchus on staying by your shver's house. That's the only thing. Why? It says this is beautiful in Taisves. Look at this. When it comes to the Rabbanans like this, these chumras go after the shita that's less machmir, and therefore the chumrah of not sleeping by Yishvar's house doesn't apply to us today. Baruch Hashem. Okay. Hold on. You know how many people are. Tell them how many people watch this year. You got to hold the questions.
I heard you're number 1 in the world.
Elo, no, that's a different guy. Elo, some say that even if there's an engagement, but then you go and just directly you use bia instead of kesef, that's also malchus because that is considered pritzus. Tarabana, Ketzad Maimer. So what's the story? Nosan lo kesef or ishava kesef. What is Maimer? That's what he's asking. Why is it called Maimer? He gave his Yevama, not his wife, a Yevama, he gave her money, or the equivalent of money, something that's worth something. Ubishtar Ketzad. Bishtar Ketzad. Kedam Maran. If you could be Mekadosh with a kesef, so you should be able to be Mekadosh with a star. What's the difference? It's the same thing that you do with a regular wife, so you can do it with the Yevamos. So what do you mean? Whatever the star you write by a regular woman, that's what he wrote over here. Says the Gemara, that's how it is. So what do you mean? What do you mean? How do you do it with star? He wrote on a piece of paper. So Shtar ksuvas yevamim ketzad. We're not talking about a shtar kiddushin. We're talking about the ksuba. What kind of ksuba do you give your sister-in-law, Mrs. Yevama? She just lost her husband, who happens to be your brother. The Torah says you should marry her. What's in the ksuba? Is it 100? Is it 200? Is she almana? What is she? Says the Gemara, Kasav la ana ploini bar ploini. My name is so and so, the son of so and so. Kabilis yas ploinis. Yivimti alai lazan. I accepted upon myself to take this Yevama and to give her, to support her. Will parnasah karoy. Give her everything she needs. Now, what about the ksuba? Well, let's take ksuba. So let's say bala rishon. Let her get her ksuba from the estate of the deceased. V'lesla merishon, and if he didn't leave any money, then in fact you have to give the second guy, the brother that's makayim the mitzvah, he should give the ksuba because they should lay their kalabayim leitzil. One of the big reasons of ksuba is that a person shouldn't just divorce his wife in 2 seconds. It should hurt him in his pocketbook. Therefore, I didn't mean it like that, but you know what I mean. In his fanny thing pack, whatever he has, it should cost him. Look at these questions Rabbi said. Very, very interesting questions. Good lumdish stuff today. If a person gives a get to the Yevama and he says, what happens, Rabbi say, if a man gives his wife a get? I'm jumping now to a man and a woman, or a man and a wife. I'm skipping what we're talking about, just to understand the question. A person gives his wife a get and says, but you're not allowed to marry anybody. Is that a good get? You're divorced from me, but you can't marry anybody in the world. Not a good get. So the Gemara wants to know, what if you gave that exact get to a Yevama? You're divorced from me, but you can't marry anybody else in the world. Now, what's the havamina that should work? Get Yevama the Rabbananu. The whole concept of get is only made up by the Rabbanah. It's not in the Torah. Get the mahani beishasish, mahani b'yevama. Get the loy mahani beishasish, loy mahani b'yevama. So the simple svara is, since this is no good by a regular wife, it shouldn't work by Yevama. Dilma, no. What's the whole reason why a get works by Yevama? To begin with, it shouldn't work. We're worried that people are going to confuse her with other women, or they're going to say that if it works here, now, in this case, they're going to get confused between this get and a regular get. The whole get is a gzeira. So, we're going to say, here, we're going to see in a second, hold on, now you're jumping ahead. But the point is that people don't know exactly what it says in the get, so maybe since the whole get is just a gzeira get, so it has wrong words in it, it should still be a problem over here. But the Gemara says, beautiful. That doesn't make any sense. What if he wrote in it A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Nothing. Garnished. He just wrote a bunch of words. What is the difference between A, B, C, D, F, G? And I'm giving you a get, but you can't marry anybody in the world. They're both garbage. They're both equal zero. But you tell me that the first zero, people don't really understand, and they won't know, and they get confused. So A, B, C, D, F, G is also, they'll get confused. They see a guy giving you a piece of paper. They don't know what it says on the piece of paper. Of course not. Says Gemara, well, wait a minute. It's not so simple. If a kohen gives a semi-get and he tells his wife, you are usher to marry anybody in the world, including myself. You're not married to me, and you cannot marry anybody else. Guess what? It has an effect on his wife. and she's considered a grusha. But A, B, C, D, F, G is nothing. So there's a big difference. The Sanya, how do I know this? V'isha grusha me'isha lo yikachu. And the kohen should not marry a divorced woman, divorced from her husband. Afilu lizgarsha ela mi'isha. Even, the Gemara darshans, even if she was only divorced from one person in the whole world, from all 8 billion people in the world, she was only divorced from one, the husband himself, that's considered divorced. V'hainu reach haget. Has a, in Yiddish, it's geschmack, it's a schmeck from get. It's like, smells of a get, it doesn't sound so good anymore. Has a reach haget, in Hebrew it's better. Reach haget. It's not a get. It's not a real get, but it's enough to consider this wife a divorcee, which she's usher now on a kohen and her husband. Omar Rabbi Bercovici Family. Amru. Omar Echad Lelavlor, a guy goes to a sofer and he says to the sofer, Ksoiv get le'arusasi. We're going to see how this has to do with Mesachtes Yevamos, the Yevama. But if a guy goes to a sofer and he says, listen, this guy, a lot of times in the Gemara, we don't have such solid people. We're talking about far extreme cases that maybe never happened. What if they happen? But this guy's not a good guy. He's about to get married, and he's deciding how he's going to divorce her. Maybe I was thinking like he's like that guy, like Rav. Who was it? Rav, Huna. When they went to a place, they said, I want to get married for 2 days. So it shouldn't be nifshal. So but we're not talking about that. We're talking about a bad guy. Okay? He already has, he has plans. He's married this woman for 2 weeks. He's going to get all the money from the shver, and then vayivrach. So he's very mesudar. He doesn't want to chas v'shalom give in to his temptation and stay married to her. He's going to get the divorce, the get ready to go. He's going to surprise her. Boom. Like that lahavdil elef avdalos, that guy, that Meshuggah Israeli, there's a whole thing about him, from Bnei Brak, that went around the world and he did crazy, he scammed a lot of women out of their money. He came prepared. He went to a cipher, prepared a get, scammed them for money, and weitergegangen. Yeah, I saw before that. Oh, famous guy, yeah. Are Amru, Amar Echad Lavler Ksoiv Get Larusasi. I'm gonna marry. I'm still waiting to one day. I have to still. I didn't watch that Jordan thing. I have to watch the Jordan thing. Then we can talk about then we'll talk about other videos and stuff like that. When? What? No, the people that don't watch the stuff, they don't even know what we're talking about. They don't know what Jordan is. So nothing happened. People watch and say, Mr. What, you didn't watch it? What's wrong with you? It came out 3 years ago. Avrami Prower, who's sitting here, played a lot of basketball with me, he doesn't understand how I didn't watch it. He doesn't like, what? You didn't watch it? Yeah. What? Yeah, exactly. What? Benny. And I saw they didn't believe me about Benny the Bull. But that's a different story. Ask, what's his name? We're here in Chicago, we should get Simcha Edelman, and Elchana finds out to testify about Benny the Bull. Just in case you don't know what Benny the Bull is, Benny the Bull is the mascot of the Bulls, and he sprays snow. And he sprays snow. So one day, I was walking out, it was at halftime, he came back to my seat, and he sprayed me. So I took out 2 cans of spray, and I went like this, with both hands, I sprayed him up. So it was on the news, it goes, fan retaliates to Benny the Bull. With my yarmulke, the whole thing. Okay. And he doesn't speak. He's not allowed to speak. So every game, he would come over to me and goes, Okay. Anyway. I came prepared because he got me 4 times before that. Anyway. Omar, Harei Omru. Omar Echad Lavlik Soiv. So 2 people recorded it. Elchana Feinstein and Simcha Edelman. Omar Echad Lavlik Soiv Get Larusasi. Shechnasena Agershena. Yeah, I think we should just edit this whole thing. All this shtumah and the shtus. Arois. Okay, Nachama.
Hashem created him too.
Not like that. Omar echel lavler ksoiv get larusasi. Lecheshechneseno agersheno. I want to marry her and immediately divorce her. So, what is that called? Get yashan. Basically, there's a date. a prior date on it. For her? Yeah, I guess. A little bit of a problem. Haray's a get. It works. Mipnei should be yodei ligarsha. Because today, that answers your question, Yankee. Today, right now, she's an arusa. Arusa, the only way you can get out of erusin is with a divorce. It's a powerful thing, erusin. In those days, they used to do erusin. Like months later, they would get married fully. But the only way to get out is divorce. If she's mizana, misa, the whole thing. So sometimes a year. But since I could divorce her today, so Memela works for tomorrow. We just turned to Amud Beis, sponsored by shiur in honor of Jolly Joe Kraus and family, anonymously. Lzchus, Moshe Yakov ben Shoshana should have Hatzlacha ruchnis and gashmias. Ulisha ba'alma, a regular woman who he did not have erusin with, ein get. It doesn't work for a regular woman. Why? For the same reason that it works for arusa. The whole reason why it works when you're engaged or erusin is because it works today. But a woman, you can't just make a get that's not l'shma, l'shem hu. It's for a woman that doesn't exist. Okay, so now this is why it has to do with our sugi. What if I write a get for the Yevama before I'm miyabim her? Since there's a bond, so it should work because she's at least like an arusa. They're bound together through zika. It's called zika or dilma kivin deloyava by mamer. Since he did not perform a maimer, he didn't give her kiddushin. Loy, then they're not really bound strong enough for a get. The get works on the maimer part. Teiku, the Gemara remains in a question. By Rav Chananya. We know that the get works for the mimer. Again, mimer is midrabanan, and the get is the rabbanan. And the get works to undo the mimer. But what happens when he says specifically, I'm giving a get just for the mimer, but not for the zika? So, Maimer ilavei zika karami, is Maimer something that fits on top of the zika, and therefore what? Vavelei kimigorish chatzi isha, and it's as if he only got rid of half of the wife. Vamigorish chatzi isha le'yosel le'kum. You can't divorce half of a woman. By dilma hayli chudeikai v'hayli chudeikai, each part stands by itself. And if he got rid of the zika, now she's usher to all the brothers. Think about what's happening. What's the nafkemina? The Gemara says like this: if I was able to get rid of just the zika, if I got rid of the zika also, then everybody's usher to her, because now I took care of this yevama. I severed the bond that she has with me and severed the bond that she has with all my brothers. Therefore, none of the brothers could be miyabimer. But if all I did was I severed the mimer, that's a private affair between me and her. I got rid of the mimer that's between me and her. Now the rest of the brothers could be miyabimer. Maybe he himself could also. Maybe himself can't because of the gzeira. But the point is, I got rid of the mimer. Now let my brothers be mekayim the mitzvah. That's what the Gemara is saying. Says Gemara the Rava. I have a great raya from Rava earlier on in the Masechta. It says Nasan get lemamoroi hutra tzarasa. So I have a lot of charts here for this. It starts with chart number 3. We have 3 brothers, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, who are married to 3 women that are not sisters. Okay, we go to the next chart. Reuven, as usual, goes bye-bye. Reuven is married to Batya. What do we call her? Batya? Bela? I forgot already her name. B. What? No. Batya is the next one. Now, Shimon, instead of being miyabim Batya, or what's her name? No, she's not Batya's sister at all. She's like a Sephardi twin. She's Tmima's whatever. Okay. Now don't forget that Shimon is married to another woman, Bat Ayin, the one in the sandals and the white socks with the knapsack. So Shimon is married to Bat Ayin, but he should be miyabim Batya. Now instead of doing that, he does Maimer. Is he connected to her through that? So the Mishnah says, remember we had the whole thing. Then goes Shimon, bye-bye. So now Batya falls liyibam to who? To the remaining brother Levi. You hear what's going on here? You're seeing the chart? You following or not yet? It's very, very simple. First, when Ruvain dies, his wife goes to Yibam either to Shimon or to Levi. But Shimon took action and was Mekadesher. Then Shimon goes bye-bye. Now we have a problem. Now she falls to Levi through two brothers. It comes from two houses, and we said that's a big problem. You see the two arrows in chart number 7. She comes from being married to Reuven and also from being semi-married to Shimon. What happens if Shimon gave her a get to the mimer that he performed on her? He gave her a mimer and then releases the mimer. The halacha is, says Rava Nasan get l'mamaroi hutra tzarasa. There's a big check mark. Levi could be miyabim batayin. You see, Batya or Bela and Batayin are tsarais now. Once Shimon performed Maimer on Bela, on Batya, then he has two wives now. And the two wives that fall, if one of them is Asr, both should be Asr. Now, Batya is Asr because she fell from two houses. She's Asr to Levi after Shimon dies. She's Asr to Levi because she fell from Reuven and Shimon, and that's Asr. So then her tzara should also become Asr. But if it's too complicated.
No, I'm just trying to find out why is the second one Asr because
she's a tzara.
I know, but
It doesn't sound good to you because for you a tzara needs to be like a daughter. It needs to be an erva. No, we said even a siyata, even there's different types of tzaras. A machzor grushasai can make a tzara. How about a machzor grushasai? I brought back my wife when I shouldn't have after she married another man. The tzara becomes asur. Yeah, we had the Gemara, Shitas, this, that. Over here, she fell from two houses, so she's an erva. You know why she's an erva? She's an eshesach. So the tzara, no, but says Rava, if I erase the mimer, my connection with her, then Levi could be miyabim, the second one, the Batayin one. So, if he gave a get to the mimer and not to the zika, that's what we have to say. He gave a get for the mimer, not for the zika. You see that it works. What do you see? You see that I can give a get to get rid of mimer. What do you say?
Chart 8.
Chart 8, yeah. Chart 8. You see there that he gave a get to get rid of the mimer, but the zika remains. Says the Gemara, okay, great. You brought me a raya from Rava. He still is not convinced by Rava. Yes, according to Rava, you have a good answer. According to Rav Chanan, you have a teiku. How many minutes are we into this? Doesn't look good. What? We are 45 minutes already? Wow.
deleted a few minutes here.
So we gotta put a thing on this. We have a lot to do. No, we can't. Omer Rav Yehuda Rav. Zu you did. That's why I say no questions. Omar Rav Yehuda Rav Zu sometimes questions. I want to see the guy yell out tomorrow and ask me a question in front of 600 people.
It's all about questions.
Yeah. Later, after share. The whole Gemara is a question and answer. First he performed chalitza, then he did maimer. Omar Rav Yehuda, Omar Rav, Zudi Rabbi Akiva, that after chalitza there's zero. Chalitza is the way you perform the mitzvah. She has no connection to you. The fact that you went ahead and you gave her kiddushin afterwards, what happened? You gave kiddushin to someone you're not allowed to give kiddushin to. Because once you do chalitza, you're not permitted to do kivin shalei bana shuvla yivna. Zudir Rebbe Kiva. Dolmar in Kiddushin Taifsim b'chayv lavim. If you try to do Kiddushin on somebody that it's also to you just with the lav, the Kiddushin doesn't grab. It does work. Ask the Gemara. So you tell me that the whole mission is Rebbe Kiva, who says that the Kiddushin doesn't grab. How can you say the Mishnah goes according to Rebbe Kiva? It says in the beginning, if he gave a get and then maimer, like in this picture right over here. Step one was he gave this one, Ruvain went bye-bye. Shimon gives the one Yevama from 5 towns, he gives her a get, and then he decides to give her a maimer. Tzricha get v'chalitza. Wait a minute. How does this woman need a get for the maimer? He already gave her a get. He started out with a get. And then a chalitza, I understand he has to give chalitza. But why get? Viva Rebbe Kiva, Kiva you have a get. According to Rebbe Kiva, the halacha should be, once you give her a get in step one, the maimer shouldn't have any effect at all. But Tanya Rebbe Kiva Omer, once you give a get, she becomes asset to you forever. What does it mean? She's asset to you. A lav. Look, he brings a pasuk. Look at the pasuk a second. What should the pasuk say? Think about it. Look at the words. The first husband should not be able to. Should say. He shouldn't be able to. What does it mean? That he divorced her. The pasuk says already that he divorced her. What is asher shilcha? The teretz is because achar shiluach, meaning once you sent her, without her, there's a way. When is it also for you to marry your ex? Only when she marries somebody else. This pasuk is telling us no, not so fast. There is a case. Just by sending her away, just by divorcing her, she becomes 100% asa to you, even if she never married anybody else. In what case? The case of Yibum. If she's your Yevama, and says, this is Rebbe Kiva, and you gave her a get, that get tells me also to you forever and ever. And then he went and did maimer, according to Rebbe Kiva, it shouldn't work at all. Why? Because for you to marry her, is this the raisa? You're right, just a lav. But according to Rebbe Kiva, just a lav makes it that the Kiddushin doesn't grab. Omer Avashi, get Yevamim, the Rabbanon, Ukras Machla Ba'alma. Don't bring me a raya from that whole sugya. The whole concept of a get by Yevama is only the Rabbanon. It can't be that there's a pasuk in the Torah that says after you divorce a Yevama, you can't marry her. That's a pasuk. The idea of a get to Yevama is not even in the Torah. That pasuk is just something to give a hint to the halacha, but it's not a true d'oraisa. Tanya Hachi, I have a raya to Rabbi Yehuda that the Mishnah, our Mishnah goes exactly like Rabbi Kiva and not Chachamim. Omar Rebbe. In Advarim Alolo Amurim Elo de Rabbi Kiva. Everything goes, the Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Kiva. Sheyoyza Chalutza Erva. Once you give her Chalitza, that's it. She's also to you like a Erva, like a Rayas. It does work. Now listen to this. This coming line is going to trigger 6 pshatim. We're only going to do 3 today. And hopefully we get to them in New York for the rest. Vani Oimer, says Rebbe, I say, Emosai, when is there a concept of chalitza, that after chalitza, there's something grabbing, you could do kiddushin after chalitza. I give chalitza. I should be done, over and done with. No. Something else happens, I could do kiddushin. Bizman, shekitcho, l'shum, ishos. When I'm mekadesher, and I say I'm being mekadesh you, like he said, Harei mekudeshes li. So I want to make you my wife, then it works. Al kitcho l'shum yavmos. If I said I want to make you my yevama, after what? What happened? Think about what happened there. I gave her chalitza. There was chalitza. She removed my shoes. She spat at me. She said everything she needed to do. And then 2 weeks later, I say, Harei mekudeshes li. I want you to be my yevama. What is that called? A mistake. Kiddush tos. You thought you could be mekadesh your ex yevama, and you can't. If you're not trying to make her your yevama, you try to make her your wife. You said Harei mekudeshes li. That's not a mistake in you're being over. So then it does grab. But if you try to be miyabim or make her not miyabim, make her a yevama as a yibum, as going off what the Torah said that if your sister-in-law falls to you, you should be miyabim, and you didn't realize that after chalitza, that's a mistake, and nothing happens. Tanya idach, we have another place. It says similar. You perform chalitza and then you did kiddushin. Rabbi Omer im kitchel shum ishus tzricha imenu get. If you said, I want you to be my wife, nothing to do with yibum, then it grabs a little bit, you need a get. L'shum. But if he says to himself, l'shum Yevamos, I want you to be my yevama, ein tzricha imenu get. Okay? So, if a guy goes in the street, he thinks this woman is Yevama. So he thinks. And she's not a Yevama. So everybody, you agree that the Kiddushin is nothing. He thought it's a Yevama, it is Yevama. Over here also, he thought that he could be Mekadesh as Yevama. If he went to a random woman in the street, you're asking that she doesn't become his Yevama. So too, this woman also, it's a mistake. Fine. Says the Gemara, it doesn't matter what he thought, you have to give a get. Now, we're going to start the three pshatim in Rebbe. What is Rebbe talking about? He thought about Kiddushin, he thought about this. What's going on here? Beautiful stuff. Really, there's a lot of depth here, and there's a lot of geshmaka things that we can learn from this sugya. Omer Rav Yosef, my time in the Rebbe, what's going on here? Asua ka'oider b'nichsei hager u'chasaver shaloihen deloikani. We know that if a ger dies without any relatives, he doesn't have anybody to inherit him, so anybody can just go and grab all his belongings. So imagine the ger has a $10 million home in a very nice neighborhood. You go, you do some sort, you start. You take a shovel, you start hoeing the front, the yard. He doesn't have Gersh's children. He doesn't have anything. Whatever, so whatever the halacha is, if they're not considered his children, Gershon's guy, we're not getting into that. The point is, if he has a child after he became a ger, then there's no question. It goes to the child. We're talking about a guy who has no relatives. Every Jew has relatives. Doesn't matter. Because you keep on going up. There's great-great-great-grandfather, and you can go to the side. Every Jew has a relative. Not every convert has relatives. So therefore, because of this concept of Gersha, this guy goes to another though. The point is, if I have intent to acquire his field, his house, it becomes mine. But what happens? Crazy halacha. Unbelievable. If a person thought that he's gardening his garden and didn't realize that his garden, all these years, this ganav, he took 3 feet from his convert neighbor. It's really the convert's garden. You look at the survey, and he looked at the survey afterwards when his neighbor said, I chapped the ger's house. He says, what, the ger died? He says, yeah. He says, how did you chap it? He said, I went to the front yard. I got the $10 million house. He goes, what do you mean? When did he die? He died on Shabbos. Sunday, I gardened, look. No, it's not yours. You know why it's not yours? Because you didn't know it was yours. You didn't know it was the ger's. You thought that you're gardening your house. Unbelievable. So you see from here a tremendous side. Back to the side that we always talk about. What? Kavana. You need to have kavana. So it's the same. That's what Yiddishkeit is based on. Kavana. You can do the same mitzvah every single day. Put on tefillin, you go like this. It's very possible you're not mekayim the mitzvah. I don't know. Maybe a little bit of mitzvah. But if you take that 1 second and you think, okay, I am now putting on tefillin because Hashem told me to put on tefillin. I'm putting on tefillin. Boom. So now you acquired a $10 million mitzvah. If you think in your mind that you want to acquire that $10 million mansion just by me going like this, 3 times with the shovel, whatever it is, lock the front door, it becomes yours. Just because I had the intent. Without the intent, it's a big, fat zero. You need to have intent. So Memelo, what happens over here? Erase, Yosef, erase. Fine. I'll go on him. What does that have to do with us?
Do they have to convert?
This, who? No, depends what age. Depends what age. I don't know. Yes, the rabbi. Anyway, next. So, no, you don't have to. What does that have to do with us? He went, he didn't realize what he's doing. He's Mekadesh, he thought that he's Mekadesh. Rav Yosef is explaining. He didn't have the right intent. He thought he's being Mekadesh Yevama. Meanwhile, it's not a Yevama. She's not a Yevama. She already got Chalitza. She's done. So it doesn't work at all. Listen to this. It gets better. What happened? You got a phone call in the middle? You put on Do Not Disturb, then okay. We're almost done. Me dummy. Says Abaya, it's not, there's no connection. Hassam like a Mechaven Lemikni. By the guy plowing the front yard, he had no intent. He thought he's gardening his own garden. He wasn't trying to acquire anything. So therefore, if you don't try to acquire anything, you're not going to acquire the converts and the chassim. But over here, he goes over to a woman. He wants to perform kiddushin. Just he said the wrong thing. He thought she's a yevama, but she's not a yevama. It's a gewaldige kasha. You see, this lumdus, gewaldige stuff. You know what this is similar to? To another case. This is similar to a different case. He thought he's in, I'm not going to mention any names. He thought he's in this guy's house. Meanwhile, it's another guy's house. Some other guy owns it. Also a ger. He didn't have who the owner is. He was trying to acquire it. He's trying to do a ma'aser kinyan, but to the wrong person. Over here also. Trying to make a kinyan in the woman, just the wrong type of woman. Elam, I have another pshat. What's Rebbe talking about? Oh, if he said yibam, it's not chal, but if he says ishus, it is chal. What's the difference? Says, I have a pshat, going to Amar Law, he's actually been mama yivamim. He said, I want you to become mikudesh to me, hared mikudesh li, funny lashon, b'maimer yivamim, with the maimer of a yavam. So Rebbe Savar Maimer Levei Zika Karami. The Maimer fits right on top of Zika. It works hand in hand with Zika. They go together. One fits on top of the other. Vasoy Chalitza, and when he performed Chalitza, right? This woman, what's the case? First she got Chalitza, then she got Maimer. Vasoy Chalitza Pakti Zika. There is no Zika for the Maimer to fit on top. Where's it going to fit? In midair? When he performed Chalitza, they took a shoe. With the shoe, went the Zika out the window. So where's Maimer going to fit? Nowhere. It doesn't have a shelf to lay on. No. There's no connection between the one doesn't sit. You don't need the Maimer to sit on top of the Zika. They are obviously in yeshiva, they'll describe it in a lot better terms, but the bottom line is, they're independent of each other. They have nothing to do with each other. If he just said those words, it would work. So it works now because they're independent of each other. Rav Amar, let's just finish this. If not true, says Rav to Abai. If he says those words, you should be mikudesh to me with the maimer of a yavam. It works. He used the word zika. The kiddushin should be chal with zika. Oh, perfect timing. Rebbe, thank you. One of the kids hit the lights. Rebbe Savar, so how did it go back on? Rebbe Savar, yes, zika. So, we're mamish done. Rebbe says there is a concept of zika. There's a band, v'asoy chalitza pakti zika. So therefore, if there's a concept of zika, the chalitza has enough power to get rid of the zika, and memela, nothing to do it. V'rabbanan savri ein zika. There is no zika. Mikari lo amar, and therefore the maimer does work. Since there's no zika, mikari lo amar lo iskashli bezikas yivav milu mehani. It should work with that lotion. Hashtanami mehani. Therefore, it works. Rabboisai. We'll see you tomorrow in New York. Be there or be square. Have a wonderful day.